Welcome. So now we are going to take a look at some basic concepts of mobile testing in this session. So as we all aware that we need to have some basics before starting our mobile testing initiatives or before start executing the mobile applications. So we really need to strategize ourselves and follow the best practices in the industry. So I will try to give you few basic stuff about that in this session. So some of the concepts are very generic and it applies to even other web testing or desktop testing as well. But being a fast paced environment like mobile application development and testing, we really need to pick the best, be it processes, be it strategy. So that is why I always insist mobile testers or mobile testing managers to pick the best. In that context, so I always suggest pick the best test process such as agile. So being very popular nowadays, agile and kanban and all that. So agile being storyboard kind of thing, and then you have short-term goals with small-sized teams, and you have a demo and all that. So it's all we will really can cover that in some other sessions. But having good processes at your mobile testing team and mobile testing initiative will really help. And test selection, risk-based test selection. Like for example, your mobile app is going to hit the market in Android, and you have very limited amount of devices. Like you have one S3 and one S4 and one S2 R and one HTC device which is in 2.3 OS. So at this time, if you really test in these 2-3 devices and then release your product into the market, people who download your app in OS versions like 1.6 or 2.2 or 2.1, it's not very sure that it will work like a gem there as well. So, and being released so many versions of Android platform, we really need to make sure that we are giving the best. So one of the famous mobile app I am dealing with right now is using the top operating system of that time. For example, they release products, they release and test really well on 2.3 and 4.x OS, for example 4.2 or 4.1, and the retention and because they have to match the expectations of the users they are having right now, and also the new user, for example coming in a KitKat platform, a new Android version, they have to satisfy there as well. So that is why you have to really understand your user and which market you are really giving your product, which geolocation you are giving your product, and you really need to take a look at that before releasing your phone. So in the scenario of testing your mobile app, testing it in an emulator ADB, for example you create a AVD Android virtual device of 1.5 and 1.6 and you tested that there, and it's not very much sure that it will work in the real devices as well. Since backward compatibility of Androids are very comparatively very low, you need to really make sure that you really test as many number of devices as possible before releasing your product into the market. In that scenario, test clouds can help. That you cannot have an inventory of 100 different phones. In my data, that says 28,000 different Android OS versions are available, different customizations, different vendors, different capabilities of Android phones are available in the market. You cannot have 28,000 phones and then test it in each and every phone and then you can release the product. But you make sure that 90% of your device, 90% of the devices can run your application. So in that case, you can also use test clouds like Perfecto Mobile or Device Anywhere or Scirocco Cloud. That I will be covering that in a separate session as well, and they even offer you automation of your app. Those test clouds are real devices, and those devices are connected in a remote location through a USB cable or something, and then you will really read the video memory and you will really talk to the real phone, and then you are actually going to install uninstall apps in that device directly. That is what test clouds. If you have some time, you can pause the video and check what is Perfecto Mobile or Device Anywhere. They have introduction videos in their homepage, and there are good amount of videos are available in YouTube as well. So I suggest you to take a look at those introduction videos, like 2-3 minutes, what it's really about, it will tell you. And then using test automation tools. Being a mobile tester, repeatedly doing the same thing in the same tiny device for a long time may not really a good idea, and you should really need to differentiate yourself from a user to a mobile tester, because being a user will also use almost 80% of the functionalities which you put in your application. But how you will differentiate yourself from a real user and test beyond that, try to cover 99% or 100%. So that is where the automation tools comes into picture. And then yes, we indeed have good sessions about automation tools. I'll cover a lot of things in there. And then now using social media. So you should have a, so your mobile application may be having a social media account or not, but you can use your own friends and then give your application, if it is allowed, if the product manager agrees to give it away to few people as a beta, and then check that and then make sure that it works. So that social media helps you to test before it reaches to the market. Like for that, you can also help them with some goodies so that they will be really interested in testing. That's some kind of basics. Using ambassadors, like you can have people, somebody you pay and in a different geolocations, and then sitting there, and then they will be able to give you some test results. Using test crowdsourcing, there are websites like Mob for Hire and 99 testing, like that. You can crowdsource your mobile app before it reaches to the market. For that, there are different tools are available, such as Test Flight. You can take a note and then you can check that later. Maybe you can check that in the internet. Test Flight is a test crowdsourcing app. And then you should also plan usability testing, how a user really feeling about your product, you can do that. We have an elaborated session on usability testing already. You should really take a look at that. And power consumption testing. Do the power consumption, for example, has to be tested before you release your application to the market? Do the CPU and memory usage need to be tested? Yes, indeed, it has to be tested, because, for example, if you have a functionality in your app that uses CPU and it doesn't really close properly or exited properly when you navigate away from that feature, and it will really consume a lot of CPU, thus it results into consuming more power, more battery. So you need to make sure that in different scenarios that your application consumes normal power. For example, LCD consumes 500 milliampere. It shouldn't really matters for an app that do you need to really check that LCD consumes that much. That is very normal. But in your app, when the user is inside your app, you need to make sure that the power is actually consumed the way it's supposed to be, or else your app will dry out the battery, it will drain the battery, and users will soon notice that the moment they use your app, when this app is in background, it consumes a lot of power, so they will delete your app. That is how it goes. The engineering and product management, they will do dashboard monitoring. For example, Android, if you had already seen the Android dashboard session, I had showcased the Android device dashboard, and then there I shown you how an app sends crash reports and all to the dashboard directly. The moment you release the app, those null pointer exceptions will reach to the dashboard. From there, engineering and product management will take a look, and then they will fix it, and then they can update a new version. Unit testing, which is really required especially in mobile testing world. There are tools like NUnit for Windows Phone, and then RoboTM is again unit testing scenario for Android, and then Xcode also. There is Xcode in the sense the iPhone unit testing. It is like OC mark. There were certain tools for unit testing. So let's take a look some basics about how you will really plan your test. How many devices I should buy? Buy as much as your management approves. Like for example, in that, buy different vendors, HTC, Samsung. Samsung being a lot of mobiles been already circulated with many users. For example, Galaxy phone, 45 million phones being sold already in Galaxy series. So you should have a couple of Galaxy in your inventory, 100%. And then HTC, and then LG, and you should have that. And my device under test should have what OS version? So you should have the popular OS version with you. So your user base also, for example, your app is a new app, and then the new users actually picking your app, then you should have the latest OS versions. And if your app is a little bit older app, couple of years is already in the market, then you should really check your data, and then based on that you should pick up 2.3 from 4.0. And since like if your app is a tablet app, you should really pick up Honeycomb 3.0. So that is how it goes. So I just already ambassador in social media, I already addressed that. Crowdsourcing also I already addressed that, which is really helps. For example, I have a VoIP app that is having a problem in Kuwait. Then I cannot literally travel for one single defect to Kuwait and then test that in Kuwait and Middle East. So if I have an ambassador, somebody who can test it for me, they can really quickly check that, and then they can get back to me. I just need to share my APK file to them. So if I trust them, I can do that. There are, as I told you before, there are apps like Test Flight. Now, iPhone app bundle, Knapstack, hockey app, and those kind of apps are there. So you should be able to use that when you really use trying to circulate that. So in the app stores, like, people normally write comments that if they really don't like your app, they will really write comments. Being a mobile tester, you should really check your app store, be it Google Play or Windows Phone Marketplace or iTunes. What users are actually writing comments? What are all the areas, problem areas you should check? And if you have a test case that is already addressing that problem, and then if it is defect leakage, you should root cause that thing. Or if you don't have a test case or don't have a scenario that you will test, then you should convert that as a test case, and then that will be tested in the next release. That is how you will really learn your test cases. Now I am pulling up another slide. So what to do with the crash reports from users on dev dashboard? And I already showcased you the dashboard, but still I have a small image. So in this is a dashboard, and there is a dashboard which has been showcased. This is my dashboard. This is one of the crash which received by the app, and total reports, and then in specific area, and SD card on click, it goes out of boundary exception. So for next time I will go back and I'll create a wrapper before that, or I'll make sure that that defect is addressed. And then I will release the app. That is how updates keep coming. So people keep using and they send crash reports, and then the company gets to know, and then they keep updating the app. That is how it goes. And I want to skip that. It will be covered in later stages. And performance testing and benchmarking. Yes, you should do performance testing and benchmarking. For example, if your application is using data and trying to fetch information from a DB, and you should check how much time it takes in 2G, how much time it takes in 3G, how much time it takes in Wi-Fi, and is it any way that you can improve that performance. You keep benchmarking and then do that, so that it will be helpful for people. For example, your application uses a heavy image, and in a 2G network, the user, it's impossible for them to download that image very quickly. So make sure that your images are light, the assets we call. So we should call that as assets. Your images, your icons, all assets. So you should make sure that all those assets are like lightweight and specific to that platform. So, and for that screen sizes and all that. So different screen sizes, you should have different icons and images that your development team will take care. And usability testing, we have separate session for that. Device clouds, we have separate session for that. How many SIM cards I should have for testing? Yes, you should indeed have for that geolocation. What is the best SIM cards? Couple of SIM cards you should have always in the device inventory. And testers should use different SIM cards in that inventory. For example, Singapore, StarHub and Singtel. They are the top two brands, network providers. So you should have both of them, at least a couple for each tester, so that they will keep using those. And then make sure that you use data packs for your testing. All your SIM cards, you just make sure that you have data packs, because like or your balance will go quickly out. So that is how it goes. Will social media helps me in testing? Indeed, being a mobile tester myself, I have a lot of social media contacts that whom are helping me in testing my app. I used to send them beta. I even have a social media group, special group, and then I added all the beta testers in there, and the moment the new build is ready, I will ask them to download it and then use it, and then give me suggestions and improvements and bugs possibly, so that I will be able to help them before they get the application in the Google Play or iTunes. So test cases, we have a separate slide for test cases, and I'll be able to tell you that in that session. And interoperability testing, like for example, normally interoperability testing is, so Samsung device never work with iPhone's Bluetooth. You try to transfer files from Samsung to iPhone, it will never work. So, but a Samsung to another Android phone, HTC or LG, it goes work like a gem. Meaning that, so it has to be interoperability tested. Testing with the different devices and hardwares, that is interoperability testing. So in OMA, like Open Mobile Alliance, has something called Test Fest. So there they call up different vendors and device manufacturers to come together and then sit and then test, do interoperability testing each other, and then that is one of them. So you should really check that in the internet. Google it, OMA Test Fest. SIM cards, data packs, I already addressed. Interrupts during your testing, like so you have a mobile app and you are testing it and it uses data, and you should try to make sure that you have test cases for interrupts, like some alarm alert is coming, and then there is a call alert. In mobile environment, the QoS, quality of services, is call takes precedence, because an app is a value added services for a mobile. It's not the core service. Why you have a mobile phone is to receive a call or make a call. So you should really keep that in your mind. You should really make sure you write some test cases that are while using your app, or you're transferring data, uploading something, or using a heavy feature, make some couple of calls, or trigger an alert, or trigger a scheduler or calendar alert, or a push notification to that device or that particular feature, so that it will be covered. So QoS, I already addressed what is QoS. And then test data, screen sizes, like, so there are different screen sizes are available, and for different screen sizes you can have different emulators and create different screen sizes in there, and then you can test it there if you are testing a web app. But if somebody asks you what is the screen size you are testing, you should really use this URL, quirksmode.org m/tests/with tests. Navigate to this page from your browser. For example, if you are using Opera browser, navigate to this page. I'm clicking on that right now because I'm also in a browser. So suddenly it didn't really work. So I'll just check. Screen size test is separately available in there. There are various different tests are available in this Quirks mode. I'm just checking. Resolution is here. So there is a resolution. What is the resolution of this particular page? Yeah, I think width. This is a screen size. The screen's width and height is being displayed. But if you navigate to this page, width test, from your mobile phone, Android or iPhone, whatever, it will give you the exact width of that particular phone. So that is how it goes. So this is very useful link that you should really use it. There are different tests are available in that. You can navigate, pause the video, navigate, and then play around with that a little bit, and then you can come back. And that is all. So the basics of the mobile testing, like why you should have a small strategy. You should write test cases specific to mobile applications. Should have a little bit of preconditions. Your SIM cards are available, or is it the mobile is charged enough to do the testing, or you have a data pack in your SIM cards, and so on. So that is very much it. And then you also need to use tools like Little I for power consumption testing. That we will be covering that in a different session. But at this point in time, I just wanted to complete this basics of mobile testing session. So hope you like it, and then I'll see you in another session. Thank you.